Bosnia and Herzegovina Herceg Bosnia supported by Elijah Izetbegovic Hakija Tarajlik Sefer Halilovic Rasim Delik Jovan Divjak Dragan Vajkic Invir Haji Hasanovic Mustafa Harulahovic Vahid Karavelik Nedzid Ajnajic Musan, Kako, Topalovic Ismet Silo, Bayramovic Yusuf, Juka, Prazina Ramiz Dalalik Zaim Imamovic Vladimir Saf Ivan Vulic Militan Kukanjak. The siege of Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, was the longest siege of a capital city in the history of modern warfare. After being initially besieged by the forces of the Yugoslav People's Army, Sarajevo was besieged by the Army of Republika Srpska from 5 April 1992 to 29 February 1996 during the Bosnian War. The siege lasted 3 times longer than the Battle of Stalingrad and more than a year longer than the Siege of Leningrad. When Bosnia and Herzegovina declared independence from Yugoslavia after the 1992 Bosnian independence referendum, the Bosnian Serbs, whose strategic goal was to create a new Bosnian Serb state of Republika Srpska that would include Bosniak majority areas, encircled Sarajevo with a siege force of 13,000 stationed in the surrounding hills. From there they assaulted the city with artillery, tanks, and small arms from 2 May 1992. The Serbs blockaded the city. The Bosnian government defense forces inside the besieged city, approximately 70,000 troops, were poorly equipped and unable to break the siege. A total of 13,952 people were killed during the siege, including 5,434 civilians. The ARBIH suffered 6,137 fatalities, while Bosnian Serb military casualties numbered 2,241 soldiers killed. The 1991 census indicates that before the siege the city and its surrounding areas had a population of 525,980. There are estimates that prior to the siege the population in the city proper was 435,000. The estimates of the number of persons living in Sarajevo after the siege ranged between 300,000 and 380,000. After the war, the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia convicted 4 Serb officials for numerous counts of crimes against humanity committed during the siege, including terrorism. Stanislav Galic and Dragomir Milosevic were sentenced to life imprisonment and 29 years imprisonment respectively. Their superiors, Radovan Karadzic and Ratko Mladic, were also convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. From its creation following World War II, the government of the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia kept a close watch on nationalist sentiment among the many ethnic and religious groups that composed the country, as it could have led to chaos and the breakup of the state. When Yugoslavia's longtime leader Marshal Josip Broz Tito died in 1980, this policy of containment underwent a dramatic reversal. Nationalism experienced a renaissance in the following decade after violence erupted in Kosovo. While the goal of Serbian nationalists was the centralization of a Serb-dominated Yugoslavia, other nationalities in Yugoslavia aspired to federalization and the decentralization of the state. On 18 November 1990, the first multi-party parliamentary elections were held in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The Serb members of parliament, consisting mainly of Serb Democratic Party members, abandoned the central parliament in Sarajevo and formed the Assembly of the Serb People of Bosnia and Herzegovina on 24 October 1991, which marked the end of the tri-ethnic coalition that governed after the 1990 elections. This assembly established the Serbian Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina on 9 January 1992, which became the Republika Srpska in August 1992. Throughout 1990, the RAM plan was developed by the State Security Administration and a group of selected Serb officers of the Yugoslav People's Army with the purpose of organizing Serbs outside Serbia, consolidating control of the fledgling SDP, and the prepositioning of arms and ammunition. The plan was meant to prepare the framework for a third Yugoslavia in which all Serbs with their territories would live together in the same state. Alarmed, the government of Bosnia and Herzegovina declared independence from Yugoslavia on 15 October 1991, shortly followed by the establishment of the Serbian National Assembly by Bosnian Serbs. The declaration of Bosnian sovereignty was followed by a referendum for independence on 29 February and 1 March 1992, which was boycotted by the vast majority of Serbs. The turnout in the referendum was 63.4%, with 99.7% of voters choosing independence. Violence broke out in many places during and after the referendum. On 1 March, a gunman opened fire at a Bosnian Serb wedding procession in a Muslim section of Sarajevo called Baskarcija. The guests were carrying and waving Serbian flags, an act which the Muslims, who mostly supported independence, interpreted as a deliberate provocation. The groom's father was killed, and an Orthodox priest was wounded. Some of the witnesses identified the shooter as Ramiz Delalic, a Bosniak gangster who had become increasingly